Of the House of R podcast at The Ringer, and it is an absolute thrill to be here with you today to talk about this wonderful season of television, The Last of Us Season 2, which is nominated for a whopping 17 Emmys. We have a great panel for you today featuring many of the brilliant nominees, so let's bring them out and get to it. First, Timothy Good, editor. Joe Pantoliano, who plays Eugene. Neil Druckmann, executive producer, writer, director. Caitlin Dever, who plays Abby. Pedro Pascal, who plays Joel. Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie. Executive producer, writer, director. Welcome, panelists. Okay, everybody ready to roll? Mics in hand, water by your feet. Let's get to it. Neil.
Hello.
We're going to start with you. Hello. The Last of Us Part 2 is a revelatory video game in a number of respects, including, of course, structurally and as a treatise on point of view. When it came time to begin adapting that game in the second season of TV, what did the medium and craft of television specifically unlock for you and your core desire to explore the role that perspective plays in our lives and in the choices that we make?
Yeah, the game, what we wanted to explore in the game is this continuous conversation around love and how, when you love someone so deeply, it could lead you to really beautiful, selfless things and sometimes really selfish, horrible acts. And the way we structured the game is, spoiler alert, Joel dies in the beginning and gets murdered by Abby.
There will be spoilers today.
And you play from Ellie's perspective, pursuing vengeance, pursuing justice for the people that robbed her of the person she loved the most. And we try to align the player so the player feels this way because the game, in a way, has betrayed them as well by taking away this person that you played in the first game. And then, now we can talk about it more openly, halfway through the game, we make this switch. And we make you play as Abby and see who she is and how she's dealing with the fallout of what she's done. And by doing that, we're making you walk in the shoes of someone that you saw as a villain, someone that you saw has done our protagonist so wrong. And it really starts questioning, well, who is the protagonist versus antagonist? And can someone that whose heart is so good become a monster in pursuing what they feel is right? And is there ever coming back from that? That was the basic structure of the game. And we were deeply focused on, you only get to experience this story from Ellie's perspective and from Abby's perspective, and that's it. And what the show has afforded us is this ability to, at times, unplug from these characters and get into other perspectives. So we get to explore who Isaac was and his origin of the WLF and how that started in a way we couldn't in the game. We get to explore who the Seraphites are and humanize them in the way that we couldn't in the game. And, looking now back at season 1 and season 2 and how beautiful everybody on stage here has created and done. And the show really sings when it's deeply faithful to the source material and expands on it in these really beautiful ways that plus it, that add to it. And the other difficult thing in adapting this particular story was it's a lot of setup. It's not the complete story. Season 1 was the completion of game 1. Now we're halfway through adapting game 2. And as we get into this payoffs and we get to follow Caitlin as Abby and where Ellie goes and the rest of it, I hope we will remain deeply faithful and expand in these really beautiful ways.
Great. Community is, of course, a core focus of season 2. What is required to build and sustain it, how destabilizing it can be to lose it, what it looks like it means to each person, either who is inside of it or outside of it, and perhaps the only task that is more Herculean than attempting to hold the wall in Jackson is assembling a community strong enough to assemble something as vast in scope and ambition as season 2 of The Last of Us. So I'm curious how the process of studying the nature of community inside of your story impacted how you think about the community of the show itself.
Wow. Am I allowed to just say yes or no to that?
Do whatever you want.
All right. I will say that no matter what you write, if you're writing a show that is about people that love each other and care for each other, I just don't believe it's going to work if on the other side of the camera people don't love each other and care for each other. And I saw day one of Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal meeting each other. It went a little bit like that. Strangers to each other. And over the course of that first day, I just thought, I think we're going to be okay. I never expected that there would be the intensity of that bond between them and really all of us. And that goes across the cast and to the people behind the scenes. We've got Tim here, who edits with us, who's, part of that family. And then when we bring new people in, they just, I don't know, it's like we try to create as much of a warm cocoon as we can for everyone, because it's a hard show to make. So, we bring in poor Caitlin and we're like, welcome to Canada, kill him. And and then I watch Caitlin and Pedro have this incredible bond. I'm glad you asked that question, because I do believe that the family that we've created is the thing that kind of keeps us all going. It is a long, hard show to make. And so without it, I don't know if I'd be able to do it. Budsy?
Bella, we watched Ellie not only lead season 2, but grow up on our screens, live a life on our screens in one season of TV. We watched Ellie laugh and cry and fall in love. We watched Ellie learn to trust and then question and lose that trust. We watched Ellie, of course, lie and plot. We watched Ellie suffer unspeakable loss and succumb to grief. In other words, we watched Ellie find herself and then lose herself and sink into a darkness that was terrifying to behold. So what was the key to conveying such a vast array of emotional and human experiences inside of one season of television? And how are you able to take Ellie where you need to take Ellie in something like the confrontation with Nora or the scene with Mel and Owen, while never losing sight of the possibility that drives Ellie in the more hopeful moments?
You ask very good questions. About the key, I don't know, to be honest. I feel like, what Craig and Neil created with the scripts and the story, it was all very much just there for me. It felt like it was all there on a plate. They're like, okay, now you actually do it. It was just about, really going to the extremes and the depths and the highs and the lows, and which I think we were doing. It's crazy how many parallels there are between when you're working on a job and the things that you're experiencing, and then real life and the things you're experiencing. It happens a freaky amount, and so I think that it was really just about going to those places and not being afraid of emotion. That's why acting as a thing is so cool, because you get to experience so many different emotions and things and experiences that you never get to experience in real life, but they're not actually real, but they kind of are between the moment of action and cut. And Ellie has a lot of anger and a lot of vengeance. You were talking about that bit with Nora, and I'm not a very violent person at all. So to get to
Yeah, you are.
to get to experience violence in sort of a very safe and protected environment within that scene and stuff, it's such a unique and weird experience. And I think really you just sort of do it. There isn't really another option, so you just sort of and show up every day and do it, and trust that the people around you who say that you're doing a good job are not lying to you. And that's about it.
Pedro.
No.
Yes, time. Modern life. Shared experiences can feel quite rare. And Joel's death, again, spoiler, apologies, was a lot of things. It was shocking, it was devastating, it was harrowing, but it was also shared. It was shared by millions and millions of people who then grieved as one. And portraying something that is not only consumed, but becomes genuinely indelible for people is just a titanic feat. What is the responsibility of that, but also the gift of that, of bringing to the screen a moment that you know fans of the series and fans of your character are going to be thinking about for the rest of their lives? And what is required in order to do that so memorably and so well?
The rest of their lives.
It's true.
The articulation at this time on a Sunday. All of a sudden I realized, I was like, indelible. What does indelible mean again?
A mark that cannot be removed.
A mark that
Yeah.
cannot be removed. I am a mark that cannot be removed.
We tried.
God, I have no idea what the question is.
What does it feel like to have to put something on screen that you know is not just another scene, but something that is going to be inside of people's hearts and heads for forever as fans?
You know, it's funny to kind of reevaluate what your own subjective personal experience to this job, to this role, to this cast, to this crew, this whole company is, and you're so inside of it that you really kind of lose sight of what it will mean when a TV audience experiences episode 2 of season 2, because the whole world of gaming opens up to you in a way that it hadn't existed before, and you realize how monumental that audience is, and how sophisticated the storytelling is within that medium. And so then I'm like, to the point of which I think I think everyone knows, you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, everyone knows this is going to happen because I've just been living with it for such a long time. And so beyond that, I guess the context of that is that none of us were really thinking about that as we were shooting it. We were just like really in the story. And I will say that the experience of season 1 and the kind of bonding that took place in that, and the way that we all bonded to one another, and the way that we bonded to our characters and the storytelling, and there were really kind of extenuating circumstances that the whole world was really going through. Our borders were still closed when we started shooting, and so we were really kind of all stepping out of a collective world experience and then going into this world that in the story had ended, and I don't know, it was just very rich in terms of how the feelings that you developed for it and that we developed for each other, and again for our characters, and obviously the writing leads us into that because the writing is so rich. And what am I talking about?
They're great. You're killing it.
You were just getting how good the writing was. I thought it was going great.
I'm talking about how good the writing is. I really have lost my mind.
It's too early on a Sunday.
To shooting a scene that you suggest will live on in people's memory, Caitlin just came in. I had no doubt in my mind that she was going to knock it out of the park, because I'd seen her knock everything out of the park that she'd ever done up to that point. So there was a dance that we just got to really enjoy that, really. To just be scene partners for something as intense as that, and right away, and just be in it together. It was really fun, you know?
It was.
It was a blast. You're an incredible actor. And Bella and I had been separated, and that was really painful. So that was very easy to play because we had been, we'd been together for a year, and then we saw each other here and there. And we're always keeping in touch, but we were really kind of like physically apart for a long time. And then when we got back together, our characters weren't together, and that was just really strangely painful in a way that like I hadn't personalized on previous jobs. So it was all kind of, magical in a kind of painful way, which helps you play it. The end.
That was indelible.
Indelible answer. Caitlin. Abby's introduction is one of the more forceful and memorable in recent television history, in part because of obviously what she declares and then does, but also in tandem with that because of what we see about who she is and what she has lost. So when bringing Abby to the screen, how did you think about that balance, that necessary balance? The most powerful way to simultaneously establish Abby as the driving force and source of Ellie's wrath, but also as the object of surprising but necessary audience understanding and empathy.
Oh man. Yeah. Yes, she is. No, I think like the most important thing to me when I was going to play Abby and doing the prep for her is just really focusing on her grief, and I wanted people to be able to really see that and feel that and really understand just how deep her pain is and understand how much time she's spent thinking about this and obsessing over it and calculating exactly what she was going to say and what she was going to do when she was face to face with Joel. I think that was my main focus. And another thing that I wanted to really showcase was just how desperate she was, and how desperately, she just wanted her dad back so bad, and she felt like killing Joel was the only way she could feel better. And there was a moment at the very end when she kills Joel, and I think that there's a moment where she doesn't feel better, and now she has to live with that. So I really wanted to just be able to see the human parts of her, and that she's not just this evil person that did this horrible thing. There's so many more layers to her, and the words there. I mean, when I first read that monologue, I was like, Jesus Christ, oh my God, these words are just so brilliant and so beautiful and so complex and painful, and I just felt like I had such a duty and such a big responsibility to do those words justice, and then getting to say them to Pedro was so heartbreaking, but he was an incredible scene partner. It was just an amazing, we shot it for 2 days. It was amazing. 2 days. I love you.
You killed him, right?
I know, I'm sorry, everybody. I don't know what else to say.
But we enjoyed ourselves.
We did.
They just didn't believe you. They're like, she killed him.
Joe. One of the most rewarding parts of being a fan of The Last of Us is the blend of seeing these long-loved moments rendered on screen at last, and then being just totally surprised by new adaptive choices. Eugene is in the game, but in the form of mentions or photos or stories about him. His show introduction, it provided this opportunity to really mine new turf in a new way, both for a relationship that was fresh for viewers with Gail and Eugene, and then also to enhance our understanding of a relationship that's really core to the experience of consuming the story, Joel and Ellie, of course. So how were you as a performer and you with the creative team able to distill so much history and introspection and complexity into the time that you had on screen?
Well, being a guest actor can be very challenging, and it's like going to a cocktail party and not knowing the hosts. and not knowing what the inside of the house looks like. So Craig and Neil took the time to call me up and talk to me about the character backstory, because I wasn't familiar with the game or the show. At first I thought I was doing Ken Owens' This Is Us.
Is that why you said yes?
So, but you know, Bella and Pedro were so inviting, and then this guy, I worked with him when he was a kid, and I didn't recognize him, and I don't think you knew who was playing Eugene. And so they said, "Oh, have you met Pedro?" And I said, "No, I'm a big fan of his work, though." And he said, Joey Pants," and then he realized right away. He goes, "You don't remember me? I've been to Hoboken, I've been in your house." And that really loosened it all up for me. I mean, it's like a lot of the things that I had to say and feel were things that I didn't have a chance to say, like to my mother, when she left. And the idea of, a lot of people think that you build a character and you try to create a character, but most of the time you're finding yourself in the character, and the emotional challenges, traumas that we all humans go through, and the uniforms that we put on every morning, that this opportunity in between action and cut was a glorious opportunity, because, and I mean, I'm humbly saying this, I mean, I think as it was written and created, it was actor proof. Nobody could fuck that up.
Bullshit. I mean, he killed it in more ways than one. It's impossible now to imagine someone else playing it.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. Timothy. Strong editing can heighten the viewer's experience in ways that they're not even conscious of, that they don't even understand, right? Heighten the connection across the parallels or contrasts, across timelines, across character sets, across plot points in a way that feels just utterly organic and then makes the experience more immersive. There are obviously a ton of really powerful and great examples of that across this season of television, including the entwinement of Abby and Joel's showdown at the ski lodge with the battle at Jackson. So in a story where the lens can sometimes often be as big as the fate of all mankind, how does deft editing help to root us in our characters' inner lives and show us how the threat to one relationship can enhance our understanding of the threat to an entire town, which can then enhance our understanding of the threat to the entire world?
You came to play. Wow. First of all, I just want to say how much I adore these people right here. And in a way, as the editor, I get to be the silent scene partner with them. I get to watch everything that they do. I go over it timelessly, and I just put in so much effort in watching what they do and trying to enhance, protect, and make sure that the audience gets to see the transitions that they make, see the decisions that they make. And I do so using the power of the architecture of editing. And I like to do that using sizes. I like to do that staying in a character's point of view. For example, in the entire scene. For example, when Abby has just learned that Joel is there, we frame that entire scene from her point of view, because what we're doing is we're actually gently nudging the audience to connect with this character. And so that's one of the things we do. I will say the other thing that, you're saying the lens of the world. I think what is great about The Last of Us is that the lens of the world is usually represented in the lens of a community of two. And the two people that meant the most were Joel and Ellie. And so what happened in episode 2 is we originally designed this whole episode based on an intercut between the Battle of Jackson and Joel and Ellie. And we put that up on its feed. And all of a sudden, we realized, because of the incredible work that they did with their characters, nobody wanted to go back to the battle. Everyone wanted to stay with Joel. And so Craig and I and Neil and everyone, we just said, we have to reconceive this whole episode. And we basically put it into 2 separate independent stories. And those 2 separate independent stories allow the Battle of Jackson to play on its own. We have to, you have to take what you can get rid of to make the spine of action perfectly and as efficient as possible. But then the last 15 minutes of the episode become just the story. And it made it that much more intense because there was absolutely no relief. And because of these performances, I was always just riveted. And that's what I think the power of strong and deft editing really is. And I'm just, honestly, it's a joy to be with them.
Beautiful. We are down to our final moment. So everybody's gonna get like 0.3 seconds to answer this lightning round question. We're just gonna go down. What is your one, I actually don't know how they did that or how we did that moment that your fellow members of the cast or the creative team achieved? Craig, start with you.
I said this one the other day. I don't know how Caitlin was looking at Pedro, turned to look at golf clubs, turned back, and a tear fell. I don't know how she did it. Perfect.
Great one. Bella.
I don't know how you, Pascal, in the porch scene, you do the perfect little lip tremble, and it breaks my heart every single time.
Yes. Pedro.
You, Bella.
You don't have to say me just because I said you.
That's the social contract.
On the porch scene.
You copying me?
Yeah, basically. You on the porch scene.
And that's our time.
Being with porch Bella.
Caitlin, do you have one?
Oh, I think it's the when Joel's lying there dead. I don't know how you guys did that moment. I had to leave the room. I couldn't watch it. I don't know how you did it.
I laid there.
I know, it was so sad.
Neil, what's yours?
I was talking to Joey about this the other day, which is there's that moment when they're by the lake and Pedro says to him, if you love someone, you can always see their face. And the camera closes in on Joey's face and he takes this breath and relaxes. And then there's a little eye twitch. And that eye twitch made it so believable and so emotional. And I'm like, how did you do that eye twitch? I don't know if you want to share the story that you told me.
Yeah, Joe,
I
you
can't
can pick
believe I'm
yourself.
so lucky to have Parkinson's. I
That might be the end note, but Timothy, I do want you to say it's tough to follow that.
You are making
Bring
the
us
editor
home.
follow all these actors. All I'm going to say. But I have an answer, and it's very, very
Zero.
specific and direct. It was Bella Ramsey, 13 takes, the murder of Joel, over and over and over, every single one. Yes, 13. I remember exactly all of them. And at the end of every take, it was a smile at the end of it. And then I remember what Mark Milo, the director, said on your last take, which was, Bella Ramsey, you're incredible.
Right, perfect. The Last of Us Season 2, 17